Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have the mid-year book freakout tag. Wasn't tagged by anyone. In fact, I meant to make this video last week, but due to not having a chance to make videos, it's getting made today. It's only a week after the midway point through the year. July only ended yesterday. Sure you don't care for this. Anyway, the first thing is, best book you've read in 2017. Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Favourite book this year? Going on into one of my favourite books of all time, which, you know, only been alive for 24 years and a certain amount of months. So, really, all my time. Nearly a quarter of a century. This is a great book. It is a Western novel. It's one of the classic Western novels. It won the Pulitzer Prize and it follows two retired rangers, Gus McRae and Cal, as they embark upon this cattle ride from the Mexican border to Montana. Anyway, this is also a tale of survival and humanity and brings up great questions about life and death, really, and who we are as people. And I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Chapter 37 is still going to be one of my favourite chapters of all time. Yes, I do reread it, and I also really can't get that piece of prose out of my head that I mentioned back when I did my wrap-up and when I did all the other things about this book. I never did a review of this book because it would have just been me enthusing for about 3 million years. The light's gone. Shall we turn a light on? Let's turn a light on. Anyway, yes, I heartily recommend that everyone go out and read this book. Yeah, read it, find it, enjoy it. Next, we have the best sequel you've read so far this year, and that is Night's Shadow by Sebastian de Castell, the second book in the Greatcoat series. Now, I read these books one after the other just before the final book in the series came out. It's probably my favourite of the series in terms of the fact that it's still quite close to the original plot and it's before any major terrible horrible things come around and break souls, and yeah, it was the first sequel of the series and it held up its end of the bargain, and these books are incredibly fast to get through. It's like a Three Musketeers retelling sword and sorcery fantasy. Everyone who reads them seems to enjoy them. Thanks to Sam's Nonsense for reviewing these books last year. And yeah, she even got a mention in Tyrant's Throne, so that just goes to show the power of BookTube. Next, we have the new release that you haven't read yet but want to. For me, that book is Kintu by Jennifer Nansumbuga Makumbi. I have started reading this book, and I got 40 pages into it and realised that it wasn't the book that I should have been reading at the time. There is a fly buzzing around me. I despise this fly. What is it doing in my room? Seriously, why? Kintu is... In the beginning, Kintu is going to pledge allegiance to the new leader of the Ugandan kingdom, and he creates this curse that will devastate the family for centuries to come. And I believe that it's going to slip through time a bit and tell the stories of Kintu and his descendants. And it is a book that I've been looking forward to since the start of the year, but it just wasn't the book for me to read this month, although I really did want to. Next, we have most anticipated release of the second half of the year, and I don't actually know any books that are coming out, so let's just say Winter by Ali Smith, because I believe that's supposed to come out this year. Read Autumn last year, really enjoying Ali Smith's work that I have read, so yes, we'll say that one. Next, we have the biggest disappointment. Now, we all know that books I don't enjoy, I give away almost immediately. So I could think of two, but I think that I'm going to stick with Paulina and Fran. If anyone wants to see my review ranting about that, the review that makes me question daily whether I should take it down because I'm that offensive in it, well, offensive for me, then go and do that. But I despise that book. I absolutely hate it with every fibre of my being, and people shouldn't really get that vitriolic about books, but I do. I dedicate a lot of time to reading and getting enveloped by these fictional worlds, and reading is really the only thing that I have left in life. So when I don't like a book, I really just don't like a book. Next, we have favourite new author, debut or new to you. Well, I don't know. Let's just stick with Sebastian de Castell, because I really did enjoy that series and I flew through the series, whereas with Lauren McMurtry I haven't really gone and bought any of the prequels or sequels because I don't want to sully the memory of the book that I read, but I might do in the future. If Richard over at Richard Reads does end up enjoying the prequels and the sequels, I might, and I'm watching his videos and he mentions that he liked them, I might go and get them from the library. I don't know. But yes, we're saying Sebastian de Castell. De Castell, this guy over here. Wrote the Freakout series. I've managed to get the first book in his new series on NetGalley, haven't read that yet, but we will see. We'll see. Next we have newest fictional crush. Bye. We have newest favourite character. Why? I'm gonna say Gus from Lonesome Dove. Let's just stick to the books that we've already put on the shelf. Let's just not take this any further than just discussing the books we've already got. Gus from Lonesome Dove, brilliant character. I think every person in the world could aspire to be him. He is a womanizer. He is, well, he's not a womanizer. He enjoys the company of women. He thinks a lot about life and he is a talker, and he is a great counterpoint to the character of Cal. So we'll say Gus. Next we have Book That Made You Cry. None of the books I read this year made me cry. I don't tend to cry at books. As we all know, the last book I cried at was in November 2015, and I still question whether that was just the beginning of the period of unfathomable sadness that we talk about rarely now. So yeah, none of these bitches made me cry. Book that made you happy. So, the book that made me happy is The Year of Reading Dangerously by Andy Miller, a non-fiction book where Andy Miller read a series of books that he'd had on this metaphorical list that he kept in his head of all the books he needed to read. This is a really enjoyable book for any book readers out there. In fact, as I've said before, I do plan on maybe going and reading the books on his list at some point. And anyone who likes reading lists, yeah, there you go. Great ones at the back of this book. A few days have passed since I recorded the majority of this video, and I couldn't really be bothered to go to the whole extreme of refilming everything, so I'm gonna try and end the video here. Can't remember what I was wearing, don't know where we got up to, but we will see. I know that I forgot to do one of the questions, which was biggest surprise, and for me that was the Throwback Special by Chris Backelder. So I read this book back in January. I saw it recommended on a book list, and then I thought, well, it's quite a short book and there were a few differing opinions, and because of these differing opinions I wanted to make my own opinions about the book. And this book follows a group of men who go to recreate this football match from 1985, I believe, and at the time I didn't think much of this book. I thought that it focused heavily on what it means to be a man, but aside from that there weren't really many in-depth thoughts that I had about the book. However, in my time since reading the book, I found that it has stuck with me, which was the biggest surprise because I thought that I'd be giving this away to a charity shop, but it's a book that keeps coming back to me and a book that I want to reread. So it's definitely done the job, and I can now understand why it was on a few favourite lists of last year. Favourite book to film adaptation that you've seen this year? I have seen two films this year, Moana and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and whilst I enjoyed Moana, that's a Disney film. We all know I'll watch Disney films because 90 minutes and you're done. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I think, begins telling you this one story of a really nice adventure film that I was completely invested in, and if the story had stayed about that, it would have been a great film, but in the second half of that film it completely changes tone and I just don't understand it. I think I'm really done with all of this post Harry Potter stuff. I just leave it at the central 7 books for me and I'll be fine, so I don't think I'll be seeing any more of the films or really caring about anything else really, because it's all just disappointing really. Next we had a favourite review that you've recorded this year, and I'm pretty sure that I answered this question, but if I didn't, that review was Paulina and Fran. I get very vitriolic in that review. I have considered numerous times removing the review because of the swearing, and because as an author myself, I think that that type of review doesn't do anything but try and really bring an author down, and that wasn't my intention with the review. My intention was to point out how absolutely angry I was with the book and with myself, because I felt like the book had promised something, and seeing all these different reviews, I'd been promised something that I didn't get. And I have seen Rachel B. Glaser talk about the book, and I understand where she was coming from with the book, but to me it wasn't achieved and it wasn't written in the best possible fashion. And you know, she's been on Politics and Prose, people are talking about her as this big up and coming writer, I wish her the best of luck, but personally that book just really frustrated me, and I spend a lot of time reading and reviewing books, and when books don't fulfil their end of the bargain, I'm going to get annoyed, and I know that I shouldn't get that vitriolic. We know this, I know this, I've come to terms with it, but it's what happens. Next was the most beautiful book you've bought this year, and that was The Witchfinder's Sister by Beth Underdown, the UK cover. And I don't have that book to show because I absolutely despised the contents of the book, which just goes to show that just because it has a pretty cover, it doesn't mean it's going to be the best thing to read. I was really excited for that book because of the topics within it, but the writing was just poor, and it's, you know, you can find the story elsewhere told in a much better fashion. And finally we had what books do you need to read by the end of this year. There are no books that I need to read by the end of this year. I'm very much a person who comes to my shelves, and if there is a book that takes my fancy at the time, then I will read it. I would like to have read the final few books that I have on the second shelf here to read, because this was my plan from the end of last year, was to finish reading all the books on this shelf. I would possibly like to read more of the Robin Hobb books. The final one has come out. Sam at Sam's Nonsense has restarted the Hob Along, and I think that it would be a great thing to read. I've just not felt in the mood for that kind of fantasy yet, so we will see. And then I suppose I'm supposed to tag some people, so let's tag my friend Lizzie, who is doing a video every day in July. She is over on Muggle Fantasy, and she could record a video and that will go to a video every day, wouldn't it? And then let's tag my friend Lily, who recently did the Ultimate Book Lovers tag. She's over at Lykios. I will leave links to their channels down below. You should go and watch their videos because, you know, they're my friends and we're all for being really nice to each other in this day and age. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to discuss any of these books, please feel free to do so in the comments, and until next time, that is all.